We are now finally ready to start to make our own GUIs from scratch. Like I said before, there is going to be a lot of copying and pasting when we start to get into this, but for now it's going to be completely from scratch, and we're going to make this GUI right here called first GUI. It will just contain some nodes such as a text field, a button, a label, and a checkbox. So let's create this inside of NetBeans. So here we are inside of the My First GUI program. This is in my chapter 14 package, and we will start with a main method. Now we know that this is going to be a GUI, so we have to extend the application class. And when we extend application, we must import the JavaFX library, like so. When you do that, you will get a red line here telling you that you have to bring in the abstract methods. So we could go ahead and we could make a start method, or we could just press implement all abstract methods. And that would bring in the start method right here. And we are now ready to start creating our GUI. So we're of course going to use a pane, and I would suggest that we use a grid pane for this. In fact, I've already kind of laid out in pseudocode how this is going to be designed, and this is what we're looking at. If we were using a grid pane, we would have a text field, a button, a label, and a checkbox, and these are the positions that they would be in. So let's go ahead and create a grid pane like that. So I'll add a comment here that says create a pane and set its properties, and we will do just that. So grid pane equals new grid pane. There is our grid pane, which needs to be imported. There we go. We can then set our padding on the grid pane. So we can say pane dot set padding, and we can just give it some generic padding of new insets 10, 10, 10, 10. So that is 10 for top, right, left, and bottom. The padding will be on all of that. And I believe we also have to import insets. So there is a lot to be imported here. When you're importing, be very careful to import the JavaFX and not the Java AWT. So you want the FX on that. Here we go. It might be smart to just import everything with the asterisks here, like so. Okay. Next, what we can do is we can start adding our components or our nodes to the pane. So right now, I believe nothing will happen because we're not drawing or showing our pane, right? We're not setting the scene. So let's start adding some things to our pane. We can say we'll add a text field first. Creating a text field is as easy as text field tf equals new text field. And then we have to import text field. Make sure, again, you're importing the FX scene, not the AWT scene. So here we go, we have imported text field. I'm going to asterisk that so we import everything. And what I want to do now before we move on is just do the last part to demonstrate what we have right now. So let's create a scene and place it in the stage. So we can say scene equals new scene, and we'll place our pane inside of the scene. We will also take our primary stage, which is what we passed into the arguments up here for every start method, and we are going to say primary stage dot set width to 300, primary stage dot set height to be 150, primary stage dot set title to be my first GUI, primary stage dot set scene to be the scene. We're loading the scene into the stage, remembering that the scene contains the pane. That is now loaded onto the stage, and finally we can say primary stage dot show, because otherwise it's entirely invisible. So here we go. we have created our scene, putting our pane inside of the scene, adjusted the height and width properties, set the title, put the scene, which contains the pane, onto our primary stage, and then we are showing that. So now when I run this, we should get something. So let's see, we still get nothing, and that's because I believe the main method is empty. Yes, so the main method should have a launch args in like this. We'll stop the program, run it once more, and here we go. Here is our GUI that right now is completely blank. It doesn't even have a text field in it, and it should, right? We added a text field right here, so let's talk about why that did not go into our pane just yet. And that's because we made a text field, but we didn't place it inside of the pane. Okay, so let's put create nodes here, and then here we will load nodes into the pane. So we want to do something which is add our text field into our grid pane. So to do that, we could take our pane, and we could use the add method, and we could say, I would like to add the text field at 0, 0, because that's what this Word document I created says, and that's what this PowerPoint shows you, that we have 4 components. This one is the first one, therefore it belongs in 0, 0. So not only do you have to create the text field, you have to place it on the pane, and then load the pane onto the scene, load the scene onto the stage, and then show the stage. It's a lengthy process, but that gave us the text field. Let's do a little bit of editing to the text field. So what we could do is we could say tf.setPreferredWidth, and what this will do is this will tell Java that I would prefer the text field to be this long. If I set it to be 250, obviously it would be a bit longer. It does adjust, but that is the preferred width. So if you can fit 150 pixels, please do. You can do some other stuff, like we could say tf.setEditable, which is this, and we could say false. So again, you can just play with the settings of all of your nodes, but I'm going to show you a couple of them. So setEditable will make it so that you can't type anything in here. If I take this off, or if I return that to true, then you can type inside of that. But if you don't want the user to be able to type inside of a text box, you set the editable to be false. So that's our text field. Let's go on to make a button. So button is as easy as button b equals new button, and we just put some text in there that says button. So here is our button. This is the text that will be on the button, as we see in the PowerPoint. It says button. And what we can do is we can add the button. So pane.add, and that will be added to 1, 0, which will be to the right of our text field. So let's make sure that that worked. Here is our button. Obviously, the spacing is not there yet. We will add that shortly. Let's worry about the components first. Next, we want to add some text, or our label. We'll use text for this, so we'll say text t equals new text, example checkbox. That's what our text will say. We have to import the text object, and then we can add that to the pane, of course. Do not forget to add things to your pane. This would go, I believe, at 0, 1, because we want it at the 0th column on the first row. So let's see if that took, and it did. Just spacing is still an issue, which we will fix. We're not going to fancy up the text, but we will go into making a checkbox by saying checkbox cb equals new checkbox. You can see how easy it is to add nodes and components. You just say the object name and make an object of it. It's that easy. Then we want to add the checkbox, so we could pane.add cb would probably be at 1, 1, because it would be on the first row, first column. Give that a run, and here we go. To show you how easy it is to change something, I could say that I want the text box to be maybe, how about we say this is 1, 0, we could say this is 2, 0, and this should go to the right of button. And it does. This is easy as that to move things around, but we will stick to this, and now we will talk about some spacing. So this is what we have so far. If you want to pause and get this written down or download it from Blackboard, I'll try to get it all on the screen for you right here. There we go. That is everything. So next we are going to add some spacing, and then we'll be done, because this is just the design part, right? We're not actually making it do anything at this point. So I think we want to add that spacing. You could say, well, what about the padding? Wasn't that the spacing? The padding is around the sides here, around the scene itself, but we want padding between the nodes. So we can use hgap and vgap, and to do that, we could say pane.set hgap to be 10. You should now see the horizontal values becoming bigger, right? 10. And then we can do the same, pane.set vgap to be 25. That one will be a little bit bigger. And there is our spacing. There's no shortcut to know how far you should set things. You kind of just have to play around. So you could say, is 50 okay? Well, 50 might be a bit much. Is 20 okay? Well, 20 looks good, but maybe still a bit too much. So that's why I went with 10. But yeah, you can use whatever spacing you would like. It's just a lot of trial and error making GUIs inside of Java. Do not forget that main method with the launch args, which will actually launch your program and run the GUI. So this was our first Java GUI program from scratch. You can see why we are going to be utilizing copying and pasting and reusing code and all that stuff in future examples.